Welcome on in to another action-packed edition of the Between the Hashmarks Podcast. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by my friend, colleague, mentor, the purveyor of the two-deep zone, coming off an NFL Week 5 where statements were made, young quarterbacks emerged, and some Super Bowl favorites fell during the weekend. So a lot to get into, a lot to look ahead to. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing great, but it never fails when we start a live stream. I immediately have to scratch my ear or something. I don't mean scratch the inside of my ear. That's kind of gross, right?
Yeah, I thought we were going to get to figuring out what to do while we wait for it to connect.
Right. Now we both do enough media to realize, okay, in 5, 4, we've all had that long intro. We have to have that rictus grin, and that's magical. Anyway. I just very surreptitiously scratched with my hand over the camera now. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to see so many people filing into the room, enjoying the podcast. We're making this a new weekly tradition, going live with the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. But as always, you can check out the podcast afterwards at Between the Hashmarks on Substack. Check it out on my YouTube channel at Matt Lombardo 975. And if you're just looking for the audio-only version, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. They really do help grow the show, make it easier to find us. It'll help us get bigger and better guests. And if you do leave that 5-star review, Mike and I will read them every single week.
You can rip us, you can insult us, nothing hateful, obviously, but you can crack little jokes. You can yell at me for being too much of an Eagles homer, for daring to suggest that the fourth quarter officiating was a little wonky on Sunday. Do the entire thing. We will read it. It's an attention economy. We crave your attention.
And if you enjoy our work, if you enjoy Mike's blend of superhero analogies, in-depth analytical deep dives, and the best analysis you're going to find anywhere, subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. It's mandatory reading. I read walkthrough every morning on Mondays after I put my daughter on the bus. I check out the features in the middle of the week every week. And if you enjoy my insider reporting, analysis, and those sort of things, you can subscribe to Between the Hashmarks on Substack as well. But Mike, we alluded to it. The two teams, the two last of the unbeatens fell on Sunday. The Eagles falling to the Broncos and the Bills getting punched in the mouth by the New England Patriots. What were kind of your big picture takeaways of what we saw on Sunday?
Yeah, nobody's perfect. That's the motto of the NFL all the time. Nobody's perfect. And of course, Eagles fans were freaking out. Although right now, based on my survey of the neighborhood, Eagles fans are too busy freaking out over the Phillies to freak out too badly over the Eagles, and understandably so. Bills fans, I am told, are freaking out. And I looked at these teams and it's like, yes, there are flaws, there are things to correct. Nobody has to play the 1992 Cowboys, 1985 Bears, or 1972 Dolphins this year. This is the NFL. These are the teams. Eagles and Bills are two of the strongest of those teams, and they're still in great shape to do what they have to do moving forward.
For sure. And you look at some of the statements that were made. You look at the Detroit Lions, surviving some late unexpected adversity against the Bengals to wind up winning, going away. You look at the Patriots, planting their flag in Buffalo. We're going to get into the AFC hierarchy throughout the course of this show. But I thought that was the signature win for Mike Vrabel. I was impressed by what the Jaguars did on Monday night. It just seemed like, you look at the best teams, you look at the teams that we thought were going to be in the mix, if not for the Super Bowl, but for division wins and, playoff runs. They're all starting to rise to the top. It just so happens that the Bills and Eagles each played one of those teams this weekend, and they just came out on the short end of things.
Everybody but the Ravens. And on the flip side of that, the Titans get the win. The Saints get the win, which I called from space last week. The Jets did not, but nobody's perfect and nobody's hopeless. Even the Jets aren't hopeless, so you really watch them most weeks. And so we get the parity pushing it in the NFL. But you're right. There's not a lot. There are some surprises. We're going to talk about some surprises. But it's not like this topsy-turvy world where you can't even understand what's going on. It's just some teams with big injuries, some teams that tripped a little out of the gate, but now they're getting themselves together, and some teams that are much better than I think any of us anticipated they would be.
It feels like Pete Rozelle's parody dream, came to life in 2025, right? Because, you look at the 7 teams that are 4-1, the 49ers are battling through injuries, figuring out ways to win. Mac Jones is, graduating from the Kyle Shanahan School of Quarterbacking and playing exceptionally well. The Lions are the Lions. The Eagles, they stumbled, but they're still trying to find their identity, and they're still 4-1 in the process. And you just look at everyone else, you can build a case for 2 handfuls worth of teams, 3 handfuls worth of teams that are going to be there in the end. But like you said, they all have flaws. There's no dynasty in the making to be found. And I think that's what makes this sport so interesting and so compelling on a week in and week out basis. One team that I don't think we're going to talk a whole lot about today, well, 2 actually, maybe. The Tennessee Titans, they get their first win over Mike Tanier's favorite squad, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes. The very serious contender Cardinals, who are a very, very serious team that are well coached and really have their act together. I watched it. I can't unwatch it.
I don't think any of us can.
Everyone saw the 2 plays on television. You saw the touchback, the guy running. I always call it a Deshaun Jackson, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I always think of that as a Deshaun Jackson when you start celebrating at the 1-yard line. So that's a touchback. We see what's really a fluky play where you intercept, fumble, and the ball gets kicked in the end zone. The way the Cardinals got to 21-3 and looked like they should roll and just stopped, and didn't just stop. Eagles fans would actually like kind of recognize it to a degree, in that the entire offense went on a brownout. But Kyler Murray running around in circles and flipping, Carson Wentzing the ball out of bounds, having the ball bounce off of his head on a bad snap. All of these other mistakes, you look at this and say, this is supposed to be a veteran team with a 3rd-year coach, a 6-year quarterback, a veteran offensive line, etc., to still be making these mistakes in a game that you should be salting away against an opponent full of rookies that's ready to be done. I know the fluke plays were the fluke plays. It should have been 31-3, and it should have been over, and a guy celebrating should not have made a difference.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy into the Arizona Cardinals fool's gold anymore. They're not even bronze gold, fool's bronze right now. The Cardinals are not even fool's bronze after what we saw. The fluky plays are one thing, but I give a lot of credit to Cam Ward. But when you're giving up those explosive plays right down the seam over and over again, there were 2 or 3 to Calvin Ridley that just broke the Cardinals' backs. And you just look at, a defensive-minded head coach in Jonathan Gannon having your defense collapse like that to that team. Signature performance for Cam Ward, not taking anything away from him. But you cannot be serious about contending or even pushing for a 500 season if that's the way you're going to play when you have the chance to close out a team and close out a win.
Absolutely. And that's it. It's here's an opponent with one guy, Calvin Ridley. Very mistake-prone guy, but he can get open on you. He can make plays. Stop him down the stretch. You don't stop him. You give up that end-of-game field goal. You give up that win. But I think because we had this wild game last night, I know I set out the outline. I said, let's focus on the AFC.
Yes. I'm ready.
Because we got a big Monday nighter to talk about, and I'll tee you up on some of these. But before we get into it, to try and figure out how wide open or not wide open the AFC is, did you notice that the Jaguars came up with a new innovation on the tush push last night?
It did not work well. They basically crafted the argument as to why there should be no more votes in the league meetings. There should be no more conversations about the illegality of the play because, hey, Philadelphia practices and got really good at it because nobody else did. Doesn't mean that you decide that you're not going to allow the play anymore.
Now, hear me out, okay? Now, we both talked to coaches about the tush push because it's been going on for 3 years now. We have access to Eagle coaches. Talk to players about it. And I was told over and over again, the dudes on the side, like Dallas Goddard told me once, the dudes on the side of Jalen Hurts, their number one job is to make sure the football is secure, to make sure there's not a fumble on this play. So to make ball gets into the quarterback's hand and goes. There actually have been a couple of fumbles, I think, for the Eagles, but they managed to get on top of them. So ball security is number one. So when you combine a push with an over-the-top leap, the pure physics of this suggests you've increased the chance of fumbling when guys are jostling the quarterback from all directions on purpose. You've increased the possibility of fumbling about 12,000%. how the hell do you, it's like ketchup and ice cream. How the hell do you look at that play and say, tush push, but also reach with the ball? You've had 80 examples of Jalen Hurts, whatever he's doing to get there, he is not reaching with the ball. The ball is insecure in his hands with both hands as he lunges forward. Not Trevor Lawrence, not the Jaguars. They came up with something new and exciting yesterday.
Yeah, and it's not even Jalen Hurts and the leverage of getting low, which you're supposed to do, which is the secret to the whole thing. The whole thing is the leverage underneath, getting low underneath the defensive linemen and linebackers who are crowded into the interior of the line of scrimmage. No. Trevor Lawrence decides I'm going over the top and I'm reaching the ball like this, inviting 6 sets of hands to punch at the ball over the top amid the pile of humanity. I don't even know what you call that. Do you call it the leaping shove? I mean, what are we? It's not even a tush push. Is it the elevation swat? I mean, elevation reach? Like, what do we even call this thing? Because it was certainly they tried to look like the tush push, but the tush push it was not.
It was the Batutsi, I think. And the ball got to Kembe Mutombo right back down, and we're never going to see it again. And yet, nevertheless,
can we run, if you're running a Wednesday or Thursday feature for Two Deep Zone? Can we insert an impromptu burn that play, please? Because it's a highlight of the walkthrough every Monday. But obviously the Monday night games are not eligible for burn this play. Can we get a mention? Can we throw this video and some breakdown of what went wrong into the next Two Deep Zone column?
I have a hard enough time now in these days of X and Blue Sky getting a video that loads in the system as it is. Please click to see the play. I'm doing that now. So as great an idea as that is, technology will not be my friend. The struggle we have just to get on the air every week, guys, is really something. I'm an old man. But the game, nevertheless, despite the chaos, the usual Jaguars goal line chaos, they got that win. And that's why I want to tee you off with some questions about these AFC teams right now, because it's easy to handicap, and yet it's hard to handicap. Because just to preface this, I guess we're thinking, it's going to be the Bills. But what's your certainty level on that?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that the Bills, look, teams lose division games all the time, right? We saw the Eagles lose to the Commanders last year. They still wind up hosting them in the conference championship game. The Rams and the 49ers go back and forth every year, yet somehow they wind up both making the playoffs and making deep runs. It happens. And, I've talked to some Bills fans and done some radio appearances, as I'm sure you have over the last couple of days, maybe even dating back to last week, where people are all worried about the rushing defense and they're worried about Buffalo. I just don't see it. When you have James Cook running the ball that well, you have Josh Allen. Look, they were looking ahead to the bye week a little bit, I think. And I think that Mike Vrabel, decided that this was the statement game. This was the circle it game, to borrow a segment on this podcast, for the New England Patriots. They wanted to go in on Sunday night, make a statement. They had the team to do it. I'm not sure who's beating the Bills to that 1 seed out of the AFC. I think they're the most complete team. If it follows the theme, what we talked about, no perfect teams, but some really good, close to complete ones, I think the Bills are kind of the cream of that crop still, even after that loss.
I agree. Also, they will get Ed Oliver back soon. It sounded like he was trending towards maybe playing. He'll be back very after the bye, I suppose. One thing, and we'll leave the Bills at this, because I think we're very bullish on them still. I don't want to hear Joe Brady for head coaching candidate again. And it's like, I'm sure their offense is fine. Cook is good. Josh Allen's MVP, perennial, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I'm sick of hearing, Joe Brady's going to get a lot of coaching play. This is a guy whose specialty is getting a great quarterback and not effing it up totally, maybe.
Making him a little bit better. And I think that Brian Dable, I think Brian Dable hurts Joe Brady's coaching chances. Because I think that Brian Dable, everybody thought when they saw Josh Allen make the leap from erratic gunslinger, young, raw rookie quarterback into MVP candidate, I think
Mhm.
Brian Dable received undue credit for that. And I think that maybe Josh Allen's progression as a quarterback didn't get enough recognition in terms of why he and the Bills became what they did. And just watching how this has unfolded in New York for Brian Dable, it feels like Brian Dable was right place, right time to get a head coaching job when he didn't have the merits, the pedigree, and didn't
Right.
necessarily make the impact that a lot of people thought that he did on Josh Allen to merit getting that job. And I think Joe Brady is probably going to be the Ben Johnson of this coaching hire. But I think there has to be a little bit of whisper of concern for teams that say, hey, you know what? Look what the Giants did following this path. Look how it played out for them. Why is Joe Brady going to be any different?
And there's a difference between being the guy who was there to develop Allen up and the person who gets Allen and who in the
Sure.
past got Burrow, et cetera. And you always look at it and say, okay, so why isn't this, especially this season? I feel like they could just go 6 offensive linemen and win every single week by 14 points. Why are we doing this, and this? Is it to get everybody involved? Fine. It's not like you have a wide receiver one you have to feed. No one's going to be tweeting biblical verses if they don't get the ball. Why does it look, why do we have these long stretches where I don't understand what the Bills offense is trying to do? But let's go back to Monday night.
Yeah.
And Chiefs. We all know we're on like an early season roller coaster with them. But my question to you is, when is this going to stop?
Yeah, I'll start with the roller coaster itself because I think that Monday night's game was the microcosm of the roller coaster. Because if you
Uh-huh.
remember, Patrick Mahomes, I think it was a 12-yard rushing touchdown late in the first half. A text from an NFL scout who I'm friendly with just came across my phone. He texted me just as Mahomes was doing the Superman celebration in the end zone. He said, "quote Ruh-roh, for the rest of the AFC, there goes that man again. If they get everybody back, it'll be a problem for the rest of us on the AFC side," unquote. So that was what came to me. And then you saw what happened with the collapse, late in the game. You saw the Mahomes pick six to Devin Lloyd. You saw
Yes.
Trevor Lawrence, be the benefactor of Harrison Butker kicking the ball out of bounds on the right
Right.
sideline. You're not going to get any sympathy from me there.
No.
But you ask for when the roller coaster ends. I think we're going to know when we sit down for our Thanksgiving dinner and waiting for Cowboys and Chiefs to kick off. Here's the
Okay.
schedule coming up: Lions, Raiders, Commanders, all at Arrowhead over the next 3 games. They finally get on a plane to go to Buffalo. That's the big test. At the Denver Broncos, who are going to want to, drive a stake in their heart if they have the opportunity to. And then you get the Colts at home. So you pick your head up after those next, 6 games? I think
6
that's
games.
when we know, right?
We know, but if they're 3-3, even if they're 4-2, I start to wonder about the narrative we all have. Well, Rashee Rice comes back and this team knows how to win in December and January. Like, the Lions are a pretty big test.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no
Right.
doubt. I
Yeah.
actually like the Lions going to Arrowhead. They're not intimidated by the environment. They went in 2 years ago on opening night, punched them in the mouth, and flew home with a win that was really the launch pad for the Dan Campbell era. I don't see why Sunday, a short week, coming off a heartbreaking loss for the Chiefs, sets up any differently for a Lions team that's really feeling themselves right now. They seem to be playing angry since
Yeah.
that week 1 loss to the Green Bay Packers. Like, they still want to go on this wrecking ball tour of proving to the rest of the league, hey, week 1 was the fluke. Hey, Ben Johnson, look what we did to him. We don't need him no more. Look what we're doing now without him. It just seems like Dan Campbell's going to have his guys ready to play. But, the reason that the narrative still remains, even if they lose to the Lions, Mike, is who's running away in that division? Maybe the Broncos get hot. The Chargers, we're going to touch on them. They're not a perfect squad. The Raiders have become irrelevant. The narrative can carry because I don't think anybody else is getting carried away on that side of the bracket.
Fair. How about we put it this way? If they get 2 wins out of the Lions, Commanders, Bills, they're fine. So they go 2-1 on that. They're the same old Chiefs. If they go 1-2, I have a hard time then backing up and saying, well, wait till January with these guys. That's when it's like you go to DEFCON 2.
Okay, that's a big leap. And if you lose to the Broncos, it determines whether you're at DEFCON 1 or DEFCON 4.
You still don't know which one. You still don't know which one's which, do you?
I thought you. I thought you were saying that we get more concerned about this
What
if you
one is the
can.
mushroom cloud? One is the mushroom cloud. Five is like right now. Right now we might be at four. I don't even know. Five is the mushroom cloud. Um. Okay, so that's the Chiefs. After a while with the Chiefs, it's like we're all saying the same thing. It's like, well, they're the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They can all make us all old takes exposed. 6 weeks from now, I'll look like idiots, so we don't want to say anything. Fair. What about the Jaguars? Did they solve any problems last night, or was that lucky, fluky penalties, kicks out of bounds, 99-yard interception returns? What did you say?
Well, you remember that was my circlet game last week, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of slowly buying in on the Jaguars, and I thought that last night was the litmus test to prove it, and to determine whether it's real or a mirage. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought they followed the formula of how they got to 4-1 by following the formula of what powered them to 3-1. Travis Etienne running the ball, he's fourth in rushing with 443 yards, but he's averaging 5.8 yards per carry, which is more than any qualifying running back, most in the league. So they're running the ball really well. They're playing really good defense. Devin Lloyd gets the 99-yard pick six. He has 4 interceptions so far this year, and they're averaging a league high 2.8 takeaways per game. So they're running the ball, they're taking the ball away, and they're stopping the run pretty effectively as well. So I look at their brand of football, it feels like it travels. And right on cue, Tigger with the face of a Jaguar, rolls in. He's in on Jacksonville. I'm not in on Trevor Lawrence, but I think that they figured some things out, and that was kind of the announcement to the rest of the world. Hey, this is how we win, and we're just going to play our brand of football moving forward.
Yeah, I'm so half and half with them because they get to the red zone, they do something stupid again. They did other things in the red zone where I was like, what's going on? I joke about how they sometimes call a delay of game penalty in the huddle. They had 2 delay of game penalties yesterday. How is that happening? At the same time, you talked about the defense. Absolutely. Brian Thomas finally at the end of the game makes like this unbelievable, important catch, layered, feathered catch from Lawrence, where I look at that and say, oh, they're getting on the same page.
Yeah.
And then Travis Hunter has a couple of catches.
Dude,
where he does
catch over the middle, where he did like a 360 spin around 2 defenders to make the catch. I'm like, there's the Travis Hunter that they were looking for. There's the Travis Hunter that they traded up to go and get. If they all get on the same page, I'm still kind of bearish on Trevor Lawrence. But if you're getting that caliber of receiver play, maybe it works.
You know what Hunter's one of his great skills was with mime time out there in Colorado was going and getting the ball that was, fetching sort of these balls that were thrown up there, go get it. He does that very well. So it's like, if it's a bad ball, he's a good bad ball in space guy to do that. And Lawrence does sail some balls sometimes. That's part of the thing. If that's the case, and then you backtrack to the Jaguars schedule, we're about to talk about one of those teams on the schedule next. There's a lot of opportunities there to stay in the hunt. I think they're a playoff team at this point. 4-1 with what they've got coming forward says they're a playoff team. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything more.
Yeah, I think that, I'm not going to say that they can replicate what the Commanders did last year, but if you play defense like that and you force that many takeaways and you can run the ball to shorten games, why can't you win a playoff game or two? I mean, we're talking about the Chiefs not being what they were even a year ago. We're talking about even if the Bills are the most complete team, how good are they? The Chargers are the Chargers. It just feels like if there's any team that's playing defense the way that Jacksonville is, a couple turnovers go your way, you put together one long drive at the end of the game, kind of like last night, you can ruin a day or two.
Absolutely. And I'd be much more bullish on them if not for their current leader of the AFC South. And my question about the Colts is, are we drinking too much Kool-Aid or not enough Kool-Aid?
I think I need to deliver some Kool-Aid to Casa de Tanier, because I think, and you're gonna blow up on me here. You're gonna lose your mind on this one. But I think we have to come to grips that there's a chance that around like Christmas time, when we're like having our holiday episode and we're sipping our favorite, Belgian brews on the pod before Christmas, we're going to have to come to grips with Daniel Jones being in the MVP conversation, because they're 4-1 right now. His fourth quarter comeback. He's had 3 blowout wins. And listen, he has 1,290 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's left his turnover problems at LaGuardia Airport, maybe at Newark in baggage claim. But if they go 13-4, which I don't know that you can rule out based on the pace they started with, if they go something like 13-4, and he has 4,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and like 7 interceptions, his name's going to come up, right?
Well, first of all, I'm actually not a complete skeptic on the Colts. I've come around in recent weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously, because they've been really kicking everybody's ass. I was talking to Aaron Schatz. I remember Aaron Schatz as a voter, and he said, I think Daniel Jones is going to wind up in the Brock Purdy category where it's all based on the system. And I agreed. And to a degree, I still agree. But then I stopped myself when I was thinking about it and like, wait a minute. Brock Purdy, it was the system because of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams and all these guys that we know. George Kittle, thank you, yeah. All these guys that we could name going in and had won with Garoppolo. And it's like, well, clearly these guys are all Pro Bowls. Now we're like, well, obviously he has Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. That's not the system. That's a bunch of guys. They're good. They're pretty good. That's not Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison or even at that level. So he has been impressive. My theory on that is that Shane Steichen, Coach of the Year. But if you believe in Daniel Jones,
he's going to beat out Liam Cohen for Coach of the Year?
I think he'll beat out Liam Cohen for Coach of the Year because Liam Cohen has Trevor Lawrence.
Very true.
Right. And he had to sort out a quarterback controversy at the beginning of this year and keep this thing going. So that's that. If you believe in Daniel Jones and if you believe that the narrative will flip on him, because that's two different questions. Do you believe he'll be that good? Do you believe that he'll overcome voter skepticism? He is plus 3,000 right now for MVP. I wouldn't endorse that because I would endorse if somebody's going to cut through the narrative, it will be Baker Mayfield at plus 800.
Yes.
Who is less like oh my God, this obviously has to be a fluke guy. He's got a fourth quarter comeback every week. He's got a pedigree. So that's my thought there. But
I'm flipping the script on you there. I mean, and I'm in on Baker. That if I were a voter, okay. Unfortunately I'm not. If I were casting my ballot today, it would be Baker Mayfield because it's the 4 fourth quarter comebacks in 5 weeks. He's busted through the narrative of what he was developing into what he is, which is arguably the most underrated but most feared quarterback in the NFL right now. But he has a Mika Egbuka, who, they deliver the fines from the NFL in FedEx envelopes every Thursday, and players dread going to their locker because there might be an envelope there. They should just deliver the Offensive Rookie of the Year award to Egbuka at his locker this Thursday. Just put it there. Nice little surprise. He has Mike Evans when healthy. When not, Egbuka is stepping up without skipping a beat. He has Chris Godwin back now, has a pretty good defense. Daniel Jones has elevated a rookie tight end, Michael Pittman, who's never won anything, Jonathan Taylor, who's never won anything. Jones looks like more of the missing piece to me, and Hills Alive checks in. This is another disqualifier for the Brian Dable quarterback wizard lobby.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely good insight there. You're doing a thing here. Well, Egbuka, he's elevating Baker, but Tyler Warren's getting elevated by Daniel Jones. Now, Egbuka is more impressive than Tyler Warren, but Tyler Warren is lining up all over the formation. He's playing fullback at times. He's running option passes and things like that. I'm not going to play that kind of like credit, like Jenga, like shifting it back and forth. I will tell you, Egbuka, minus 110 for Rookie of the Year. There's still meat on the bone at minus 110, folks. There is still meat on the bone. That's not he's like he's a minus 400. It's not even worth playing. A minus 110. Genty at plus 380. Jackson Dart at plus 600. Blah, 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 blah. And I want to go back also Coach of the Year right now. Shane Steichen at plus 300. Liam Cohen at plus 550. You know how it is with Coach of the Year. A million things can happen. Vrabel's at plus 600. But if you're feeling a hunch, go with one of those. These two teams have to play each other twice down the stretch.
Yeah, and I the Vrabel thing is interesting to me. Plus 600, especially after that win going into Buffalo with that quarterback. I'd be tempted. It's tempting for me. Tempting.
We'll switch over to the Patriots right now. We touched on them earlier talking about the Bills, but my little tagline here for the Patriots is, well, hello there. Willkommen. Welcome to the conversation here after that win, coming off of a blowout that was mostly special teams and watching the Panthers trip over themselves, but it was still a blowout of the Panthers. I will preface this by saying that Aaron Schatz, the DVOA guy, told me, and I'm paraphrasing, that the Patriots have like something like the fourth easiest schedule in the history of mankind coming up. It was something like the fourth highest, sixth highest in DVOA history going back to 1978, the easiest schedule since the UNLV basketball team in 1987, something like that. I'll give you the quick readout. At Saints, at Titans, Browns, next 3 weeks.
3-0. 3-0. Where are you tripping up there, right?
I mean, you could trip anywhere, but like, where are you tripping up based on what you see on paper? You're not.
Correct. And, it's amazing to me what a veteran wide receiver who starts to care again in Stephon Diggs can do for a young quarterback. But more importantly, Will Campbell, so far this year, only allowed 1 sack according to Pro Football Focus with 10 quarterback pressures. He's already PFF's number 32 ranked offensive tackle. And here's the thing. When we're in Mobile in a few months, if you even text me, hey, wake up, get from your hotel to weigh-ins and measurements, I have no interest because I never, ever want to hear about short arms or strong hands or small hands again. Let me sleep off my hangover from Veets or from Haberdasher or wherever we are late at night. I have no interest in hearing any of these concerns or criticisms of draft prospects again because Will Campbell shattering the narratives and the crash test Brissett storyline is no more because Drake May is playing some incredible football in his second season.
Campbell's playing well. They've had incredible health across their offensive line. Only the rookie guard was out for a little while. And, if all you're doing is replacing a rookie guard, you can usually do that. And they've taken care of that. Just a quick commercial. They don't allow us in the weigh-ins anymore.
No, they don't.
No, now for those of you who are uninitiated, they used to invite the entire NFL media. So we're talking about 650 middle-aged dudes and 4 women all to sit on bleachers, and they would have the athletes come out, the Senior Bowl participants, in their Under Armour underwear, going out there in their skivvies, walk across with their names getting announced, go on a scale, and then go on whatever thing they do to measure you. And they would announce the measurements, and we would all scribble them down, and we'd all get to look at their tattoos and their packages and everything else like that. It was the weirdest, most uncomfortable thing. And for some reason, they decided that might have been a dehumanizing thing to do to these future, or nowadays with NIL, current millionaires.
Yeah, not great. But I have no interest in hearing the takeaways from them anymore because it seems like he busted a lot of those narratives. But it's not just Campbell. It's not just the offensive line. Drake May, going into Sunday night, right? This was after 4 games. He had a 75% completion percentage or better and thrown at least 2 touchdowns in each of the Patriots' last 3 home games. The last quarterback to do that, he wore number 10, Tom Brady.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
And May is also now the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to have a 135 passer rating or higher with a touchdown and a rushing touchdown in multiple games in one season. He's done it 4 times. The only quarterbacks who have ever done that are Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So this has been kind of sneakily under the radar dominant performance for Drake May so far this year.
He is definitely coming around, making strides from last year, eliminating the mistakes, playing very well in the last couple of weeks. Some incredible plays against the Bills, to stay in that game and to lead that comeback late in the game. I'm just warning everyone. Every time you invoke Tom Brady or Josh Allen about Drake May, you're saying Candyman in the mirror. You're saying Candyman. The NFL gods are hearing you, and they're saying, we know what you're trying to do. We are not going to allow you to do this. Let Drake May develop. Let him continue. Let the story of his career not be remember that time he beat the Bills. Because Mac Jones's career started with remember that time they beat the Bills. Let this happen. Let it, because it is happening. It's developing. But baby steps. Because if you keep invoking Tom Brady, keep invoking Josh Allen, you will be punished by fate herself. Now, we go to the team that secretly dominated in week 5. Nobody noticed it. Nobody watched it. But the Steelers pulled off a big win during their bye because they watched the Ravens and Bengals fall even further into tomfoolery. They watched all the top teams take a loss. Whatever they watched with the Browns, they watched with the Browns, and they sat there and got healthier. So we have the Steelers team. What are your expectations now? Is it over? Do they win that division?
I mean, it feels like they figured it out a little bit in that win over the Vikings before the bye week, right? It seemed like they kind of felt themselves a little bit coming out of it. And this just seemed like, it's kind of the Mike Tomlin way, death taxes and them figuring out a way to go above 500. And they couldn't ask for a better situation because the Ravens are dead, never to be heard from again. The Bengals continue to have to play Jake Browning and an offensive line that is just a sieve, right? And it's now the Dylan Gabriel experience until they decide they need to get a look at Shedeur Sanders for a few games to just reaffirm the fact that they need to take one of these quarterbacks high and hope that they're better than either one of these guys. Jim Schwartz's defense buckled against Carson Wentz of all people, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just look at how the division is shaping up, and for all of the warts of the offense, it's still the Steelers' defense that it's always been, with the same personnel, just as dominant, just as stingy. And Rodgers, compared to what they're up against in that division, he's better than good enough, better than most.
Right. And the reset of the expectations for the AFC North has gone from like the last 20 years. It's going to be grinding attrition among like two or three of these teams, and the Steelers and Ravens are going to be going like this, or the Bengals will flicker into life or whatever. And, it's going to be beating each other up, and then somebody finishes with 11 wins. Now it's like, this is like one of the Souths. This is like one of AFC or NFC South. These teams are a mess. You go out there, be professional, let your aging quarterback just toss the ball around, try to stay healthy, let TJ Watt make a couple plays. You win. You might be a 10-win team, and you win. But this, what I can't figure out yet, and like obviously we have no information from last week to go for, is like, what is the ceiling for that team? I will tell you right now, they are minus 105 to win a division. They're now the favorites to win a division.
I'll tell you what the ceiling is. It's a little bit higher than what the ceiling was with Russell Wilson, right? I mean, they did. I'm trying to remember. They went on the road to Baltimore. They didn't win a wild card game to get there, right? That was
no. They stumbled into a wild card
game. Yeah, they stumbled into a wild card. I think they could win a wild card playoff game, and then you figure out what happens from there, because I think Aaron Rodgers is playing better than what you saw with Russ last year. I think the defense is still the defense, and DK Metcalf is playing. He took over that game in London, right? He was. If that's what they get moving forward, it doesn't matter who that second receiver is. It doesn't matter who the secondary option is if he's that good and they can run the ball with Jalen Warren and Kenyon Barner and Caleb Johnson. They're going to be fine. They have the pieces there, and I think that they could be a team that wins the division and maybe wins a playoff game.
It is an interesting development that DK has gone from vertical giant guy to all-purpose receiver. That's a sudden and shocking thing to see happen there. By the way, the Steelers season ended. Justin Fields had a little bump, and then he turned back into Justin Fields. Russ showed up and had a little bump, and then last 4 games, 4 straight losses, like just backing into the playoffs. I can see this happening the same way, where late in the season, it's like, okay, we figured out every trick they're using to protect Aaron Rodgers. Every little quick game concept, all of the Arthur Smith's 8 tight end formations, we figured it all out. We know that we can run the ball on this team, etc. 10-7 ain't bad,
right?
And what if it's 11-6? And what if it's 11-6 instead? And now you have a chance to get in the playoffs and be troublemakers when you get there.
When we start talking about the Chiefs playing the Bills, when we start talking about, the Patriots' schedule in that division having to play the Bills another time, when we start talking about the Chargers and the Broncos, all these teams play each other, right? So
right.
If you win that division going away at 10-7, you're talking about hosting a game. You're talking about having a game in Pittsburgh, and that could be a difference maker. Look, even if the wheels fall off for Aaron Rodgers, which is still entirely possible, he could still get into that habit of throwing awful interceptions, which has defined him going back to at least the 2022 season. I just don't know that anybody is running away from them there. Khalid checks in. Do you guys think that the Steelers will win the division? I'm a Ravens fan, and yes, we've been bad, but at all games at post-bye week, we'll get our starters back. I still think that we can beat Pittsburgh.
Let me put it this way. One thing that Steelers fans should worry about, and Ravens fans can stay hopeful for, these teams face each other week 14 and week 18. So the Ravens injury report could look much different like that. And you talk about getting the starters back. At the very least, Lamar will be back. Guys like Kyle Hamilton will be back. So there's a situation where the Ravens might be trying to fight their way back, but they have the opportunity to play spoilers at that point, and actually take down the team they have to take down. Not only do the Steelers have the Ravens twice at the end there, they have the Bills and the Lions late. So if there's a degree of smoke and mirrors. Don't get us wrong. They're 3-1 start. There's a degree of smoke and mirrors right now. If there's a lot of that, it could get exposed at the end, and the Ravens could help expose that. But you have to. I need to see them in the lineup for these Ravens guys that are hurt. I need to see them back before I get super encouraged, because I've seen injury reports that were supposed to be 2 to 3 weeks extend, and that's a concern I have for the Ravens.
For sure. And it just goes back to the fact that those haven't been the Ravens. That wasn't the Ravens roster that was built going into the year with Super Bowl caliber players. And all the All-Pros and Pro Bowlers are sitting on injured reserve or on the inactive list the last few weeks. If they get healthy and they can kind of become that team that makes a late charge towards the end, kind of like the Bengals and Burrow tried to do a year ago, the opportunity is there, because the Steelers' biggest tests are coming at a time when we don't know what Rodgers is going to be at that point in the season.
Right. And we'll know more also if the Ravens fall to 1-5. Again, that's all she wrote situation. I feel like that's all she wrote for, like, really fighting their way back and being the Super Bowl team they thought they were going to be. I don't see them as a team that's going to quit, though. I think the Bengals have quit. I think the Browns are looking for an opportunity to quit. The Ravens aren't going to quit. They could be out there with Cooper Rush, and they're still going to be going hell-bent for leather.
For sure. And next on the list, I'm going to tee you up on this one because I know it's your favorite, little plaything. Justin Herbert and the Chargers.
Yes. How chargery are the Chargers? Now, do you want the Chargers bad news, or do you want the good news?
We always go bad news first here. You always got to go bad news, and then you set up the good news so that the bad news doesn't make you want to jump off a bridge.
Okay. Now, so I think most people know Omarion Hampton got hurt. Looks like he's on the IR. I believe he's out for the year. Guys like Kendall Vidal are now the running back. Najee Harris is also out. This is a team that wants to pound the rock. They are now out of running backs. That is very bad news. But I've got good news. They were putting a bunch of guys on injured reserve at the beginning of the week. One of the guys who did not go on injured reserve is Joe Alt. Okay. Yeah. That appears to be an indication that Alt could return the next week or two, return at left tackle, replace this guy. I call him Succubus. I don't know. I think his name is Dadicus or Dadulus, Daedalus, but I call him Succubus at left tackle. If Alt comes back at left tackle, Pipkins can at right tackle. It's not like catastrophic. Mekhi Becton was back this week. Pipkins, by the way, also got hurt, I think, for a little while. It was almost like complete chaos against the Commanders. The Chargers can get back to some new version of normal and still hang around where they normally hang around, which is here we are in the wild card picture as this sort of grungy team. That's my take on them. You have anything different?
I'm just tired of getting fooled. Like I wrote the big column, going into the playoffs last year about how Jim Harbaugh wrote the column, built this juggernaut of a running game and physical defense that was going to be the end of chargering. They come back. Herbert leads the fourth quarter comeback against a very good Broncos team.
Yeah.
I said, here lies chargering as a verb, dead and gone forever. And then Sunday happens. And I give a lot of credit to how Washington won that game, falling down 10-0, picking themselves up off the mat with the forced fumble. They get the interception to seal it at the goal line. Look, I keep getting fooled by these Chargers thinking that they were going to shed their identity. Rashawn Slater being done for the year, Joe Alt being out. I think that's been the biggest difference. I don't know. I'm going to admit that I don't know what to make of them, because when Justin
Right.
Herbert's at his best this year, as a scout told me, quote, Justin's using his legs more. He's letting the ball rip. He moves like he believes that he's the guy, unquote. If you get that Justin Herbert behind a somewhat competent offensive line, they're going to be fine. But like you and the Falcons are the Falcons of the Falcons. The Chargers are the Chargers of the Chargers. It's just what they are.
See, that's it. I never get fooled by them because I never believe in them. So when this happens, where it's like, oh, they're having an actually injury cascade, it just brings it back to, well, I was skeptical anyway. Now at least there's something very tangible to point to all these injuries. Khalil Mack injury on the other side of the ball as well. But we'll see. That's a team again. Greg Roman, Harbaugh, in addition to all the line injuries, they want to hand off in first and second down a lot of times. I know there's been less of that this year. They've been giving Herbert more opportunities to just throw it, but now they're not going to have much of a choice but to let Herbert throw because they're not going to get anything besides what the defense gives them in the running game. That's going to be tough. And we're getting there. We've all, because AFC, there aren't many teams totally out of it. There are very few teams that just stink on ice like the Jets. How about the Texans? Should we sleep on them? Even though if you watch a Texans game, you're likely to fall asleep.
Yeah, here's the thing with the Texans. Can you wake me up when they play somebody for real, please? When they play a real NFL team? Because that was Shane Falco. Yeah, but that was Shane Falco. That was Clifford Franklin. That was Jumbo Famiko. That was the Replacements. Remember the Gene Hackman movie, the bad Gene Hackman football movie, The Replacements? Their home field, their home stadium was M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. That's who they played.
Well, it was Keanu was the quarterback, right?
Yes. Yeah, Keanu was Shane Falco, yes.
He was a little left-handed quarterback who really didn't look like he belonged out there and seemed like he was just too small.
Yep.
Dylan Gabriel.
There you go.
Yes. There you go. 20 years from now, Dylan Gabriel's going to be like Neo or John Wick. It's going to be exciting. He'll be an offensive coordinator. It'll be fun. Yeah, I mean the Ravens. Okay, that's a nobody right now because it was a scout team. The Texans played the Jaguars. Okay, they lost. They played the Buccaneers. Okay, they lost. They played the Rams. I see your point.
See? They're just one of those teams that like they hang around. They make you think that they're good. They just can't figure out a way to win and win consistently.
Yeah, and I say, well, the Colts have played nobody, but the Colts have played nobody and spanked them. The Colts have gone out against their nobodies and won the hell out of the game and just walked away talking about MVP candidacies. The Texans are out there and it's like, oh, we're in a barn burner here, against the Titans for 3 quarters. They shut the Titans out. But like, if you looked at that game, I believe it was like 12-0 or something like that early in the third quarter. This was not a triumphant victory. Okay, the Texans are the Texans are the Texans. Great defense, no offense. Maybe they're figuring things out. Liberate C.J. Stroud. Let's move on here. I think you've already made your point. I put the Ravens on there, dead but not necessarily out of it. Have we covered them enough?
I think we have. I actually wrote the obituary in the column on Monday. 3rd down of 4 downs was the actual obituary. like when newspapers used to be a thing and you'd like open it up and you see like I wrote the obit. I mean, and services will be held in the AFC North where the Pittsburgh Steelers, the revenge-minded Cleveland Browns, and the Cincinnati Bengals will happily pay their respects.
It'd be like one of those funerals in the movie where it always takes place in the rain. It's always on a hill. You can always see New York's skyline in the distance. And there's a mysterious figure watching from the back. It's like Bane or somebody is like watching from. I'm wondering who's watching from the back there. Is it Mike?
It'll be Josh Allen because he'll just be thrilled that they're not standing in his way.
Yeah, he'll be out there and like no one talks to him as he quietly walks away. It's Josh Allen. I was thinking maybe Mike McDonald, the Seahawks head coach, is looking at us. This is what happens. They didn't listen to me. But all right, so we've solved the world problems here. If there's one, I'm going to leave it with one threat. If there's one threat to the Buffalo Bills, besides the Buffalo Bills themselves, who is it?
Well, I think it might be the team we didn't cover, and that's the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos. And that's been my squad all calendar year, dating back to March and free agency. And I think that Sunday was, their grand unveiling of what they've always wanted to be under Sean Payton. You had 9 different Broncos players catch a pass. You had Bo Nix in the offense went touchdown, touchdown, field goal over the final 3 drives that bled out 11 minutes and 48 seconds in the fourth quarter. I know that, people are getting all, fluky dooky about the officiating down the stretch. But even before the officiating became an issue, they sold out to stop Saquon Barkley. They held him to 30 yards on 6 carries. They stacked the box and dared Jalen Hurts to throw over them. And what did they do? They sacked him 6 times, and my guy Nick Bonito got 2.5 of those sacks. So big players making big plays in the big moments of a big game. It felt like a statement win for Sean Payton and the Broncos. I'm not sure who the biggest threat is to the Buffalo Bills. It's certainly not Baltimore anymore. It's certainly not going to be the Chargers until they show me otherwise. But I thought the Broncos could be that team for a while. They play like they did on Sunday. It might be them.
Right, and we're grandfathering the Chiefs, and that's too boring to talk about territory. So we'll put that in there. The Broncos, Sean Payton and Vance Joseph absolutely won that chess match. That's a team that isn't going to beat themselves. They beat themselves against the Colts, but that was the weirdest penalty in the universe there. That was the game where that looked like they had won. That's like so far out of the outlier, you can't discuss it. And I'll say this, Drake May, he gets this comeback, gets this win, huge win. And we're like, well, is he Josh Allen and Tom Brady combined, or is he a stack of Josh Allen and Tom Brady's combined? Meanwhile, Bo Nix gets out there, has this big comeback against the Eagles, makes a lot of big throws, has a playoff experience, has been growing into his role steadily, and the world seems to be like, let's have a little bit of credit for Bo Nix for what he does bring to the table. I'm not excited by him. I'm not like, I can't wait to watch Bo Nix. The games get won. The throws that have to get made. He makes plays with his legs. And he's working hand in glove with Sean Payton. And I don't know if they're the threat to the Bills, but they're a good team.
They're a good team, and I think they're what I've said they've been all along, and that's a team that could wreck a team's day or two in the postseason, especially in this climate in the AFC. Breaking news, just across the wire. The benefit of doing these podcasts live, the Cleveland Browns have traded Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals for a 6th-round pick and a 5th-round pick. So Zach Taylor and the Bengals decide, hey, maybe we don't want to play dead just yet. Maybe we don't want to watch Trey Hendrickson quit on us. So they trade for Joe Flacco?
They don't want to play dead. They literally just got rigor mortis. I am trying to envision this. Now, we can all, again, this is breaking news. We can all picture stationary platform, like a pitching machine, or like one of those punting machines. Joe Flacco just launch. Don't move. Don't really know the system very well. Launch it to Jamar and T. But isn't that just what Jake Browning was trying to do anyway?
Yes, and correction here, the Browns, it was Flacco and a 6th for a 5th. It wasn't 2 picks. So the Browns are trading Joe Flacco and a 6th-round pick. Cincinnati's giving up a 5th-round pick. I read it too quickly in my overexcitement of the mediocrity of this trade. But you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to take a bit of a victory lap for all the people on social media who were just at my throat dating back to July when I said there was no reason whatsoever for Joe Flacco to play a single snap this season for the Browns. Not when you take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, not when you double up and you take Shedeur Sanders in the 5th, not when you have to figure out whether either one of these guys can be your future, that every snap wasted is a wasted opportunity to evaluate and develop. Where are you now? What do you say now that after 5 games, you decide that we're going to trade Joe Flacco after Dylan Gabriel's clinic of mediocrity in London? You're just going to trade him away? Maybe the guy was right who said that it was a waste of time to play the 112-year-old, play the kids, let them develop, let them learn, and they traded him today.
What were you hearing? That Flacco had anything left, or was it more like well, you need a mentor? Was it that kind of argument?
Oh, you can't waste these kids. Let them learn. Let them learn behind Flacco. Flacco
Yeah.
took them to the playoffs 2.5 years ago. Flacco's a veteran. Give him a chance. Let the kids watch tape and learn behind the scenes. Acting like it's 1983 again. Acting like we don't just see rookie quarterback to go out there and play immediately. What did you do? You wasted 4 games. You wasted 4 games, then you traded the dude. You feel good enough about Shedeur Sanders, who won't even speak to the media, being the backup quarterback, that you traded the veteran backup after one mediocre start from Dylan Gabriel. So, hey, you know what? You can send the apologies at Matt Lombardo NFL on Threads. You can drop it on Blue Sky at Matt Lombardo NFL. I want the apologies. I think I have them coming.
You are me level salty. You are me level salty. There's no way Flacco starts on Sunday against Micah Parsons and the Packers, is there?
Are they really just sick? Are they just sick of Jake Browning? Do they just realize that he stinks and maybe they'll throw Flacco out there because they can't stand the sight of him? I don't know.
If so, it's one of those things where I made the joke about Daniel Jones. The Giants couldn't stand the sight of him because he reminded them of themselves. And that's what if you're like, Jake Browning, you are dead to us. Like this guy, again, 2 years ago, wins a bunch of games down the stretch, has been the backup, started like 4,000 preseason games, comes in, okay, he's a mess, obviously. This isn't working. You put Brett Rippon in if you're doing a benching. You don't, right? Let's put the immobile guy who doesn't know the playbook out there against Micah Parsons, because then because Jake Browning will be in there by halftime. Right?
The offensive line in Cincinnati is you, me, Aaron Schatz, Tigger, and Jarrett Bailey. And you traded a 5th-round pick for a 47-year-old Joe Flacco. Right? I mean, let's just think about this sensibly here. I can understand the argument to go get a quarterback. Go get Kirk Cousins. Right? I can understand the argument, go get a quarterback, trade for any number of quarterbacks. Joe Flacco was not on the bingo card. He wasn't in the bingo box with any of the instructions of how to play bingo. He was even on the radar of going to Cincinnati. I don't know how he helps anything, but you've traded away a 5th-round pick that you could have used to try and get a decent offensive lineman next year.
This is one of those look busy trades, I think. With Tobin and Taylor, it's like, look, we're leaving no stone unturned to fix this. I don't know who they're impressing. I don't know who above them is going to say, oh, well, I see what you did there. You tried. But I guess it adds a level of entertainment value on 2 fronts. And I don't want to see Joe Flacco as a neighbor. I don't want to see him get injured, anything like that. But we may see him again, and we may see Mime Time Sanders out there on the field now, because another impediment to him going out there and doing whatever it is he's going to do has been erased. And that's at least interesting.
For sure. Speaking of interesting, what's the circular game this week?
I think it's that now. I think I want to see Bengals Packers. But what did I write on the thing here? It was Seahawks against the Jaguars. For no other reason. Now we're still gathering research, I think, on who the Seahawks are. They go out there and they have this big shootout and they lose. Jaguars come off a big shootout and they pull it out at the end. The word here is shootouts. These teams are fun.
Yeah.
I want to watch it. I want to see a bunch of points scored. I want to see more Lawrence. I want to see more Hunter. I want to see Darnold and more Smith and Jigba. All the goofiness that's going on there. And again, these are playoff teams. They're in the hunt. I want to see what they have in store. And I left a big one for you. Are you taking it?
I'm not sure if this was the one you had in mind, but I rode Monday night as my circular game last week, and it worked out pretty well last night. I'm going Bears Commanders because I love a good quarterback rivalry, and I will do everything in my power over the next 5 to 10 years to turn this one into Brady versus Manning 2.0. Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. It's going to be tremendous. It's a rematch of Hail Jaden. You have 2 potential wildcard teams. The Commanders maybe even better than that. Commanders coming off an emotional comeback. You get Ben Johnson with the extra bye week to prepare for Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams wanting to go out there and stick it in Jaden Daniels' eye after all the comparisons and all the bad press about him going number 1 in the draft. I love the subplots. I love the storylines. I like both of these rosters. Give me Bears Commanders as my circlet.
I like that Caleb Williams has never accomplished anything, but everything's a subplot with him.
Yes.
Because, it's Caleb versus Ben Johnson. It's Caleb versus McCarthy. Now it's Caleb versus Jaden Daniels. Well, we'll have Caleb versus Bo Nix or whatever down the road here. Caleb versus Dylan Gabriel. But it is. And Hal Jaden is one of the defining moments of last season. And it's good to see Daniels back and see him playing at a high level. And he might get McLaurin back next week. They're optimistic. So that's a good.
Should be a lot of fun. What do we have coming up on Two Deep Zone?
For once I know. For once I have an answer prepared. Jets tank watch tomorrow. The Jets are as bad as ever, but in a totally new way. A new and interesting way of being bad. The Jets have discovered it. We're going to talk about it. And I'm in the middle of a big project. All 32 offensive lines. I'm getting you caught up at what's going on. So a moment ago, you said, well, the Bengals offensive line is this. It's like, well, the Bengals offensive line is severely messed up, but there's some still familiar names like Orlando Brown on there. They're just eating their way out of the league or something like that. So I'm going to go through all the injuries and the benchings on the offensive line. So you have a little handy dandy thing for the next couple weeks saying, why is this team playing well? Why is this team playing bad? Why are they disappointing? Is there an offensive line crisis going on? On Thursday morning, you'll have your answer for the entire NFL. What do you got coming up?
Dude, can't wait. I got the mailbag on Friday. Going to ask people can ask their questions in the Substack chat at Matt Lombardo NFL on Threads. You can check in on Blue Sky, and then I'll give you my thoughts, but I'm also going to pass those questions on to NFL scouts, executives, agents, former players to get you the answers of what people inside the league are thinking about the biggest storylines. Last week's mailbag, for example, I chatted real quick with Trey Thomas about the Eagles' offensive line and how to fix that line, how to jumpstart the offense. Interesting thoughts from Trey. Past couple of weeks, we've talked about trade destinations that people inside the league might be looking at for some of the top targets. So ask your questions, and we'll get you the perspective of league insiders. Mike, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully the NFC can provide some similar drama. If not next week and coming weeks, we could tackle the NFC side of things. But I kind of like doing a deep dive on the top of the AFC.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. And we might get a little local drama on Thursday night with the Eagles-Giants. The teams we covered.
The Lombardo Tanier Bowl, because we both been parts of both beats. Helmet's right up there.
Right. Oh, you actually have the little name tag. They never gave me a name tag.
I do. Yeah, I was there long enough that I had the name tag from Quest Diagnostics Training Center for my little cubicle. Yeah.
And you thought to take it, which is good because sometimes they stay up for years.
Yes. I think it's all badges of honor. Well, like in Shawshank, people carve their names and you just slap them up on the.
Right. It's like it says Grantland Rice up there. Holy cow, it's amazing. But you got yours. Yeah, it's the me versus it's the Giants Eagles ball. It's our ball, except that neither of us are taking the Giants.
No, not even close. I don't think it's going to be close. It might be the end of Brian Dable if it goes poorly enough. He's Mike Tanier. Check him out on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. Be sure you subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. Mandatory reading, especially walkthrough on Mondays. You get everything in one neat little package with all kinds of jokes and analytics and insight, everything you need. You can subscribe to Between the Hashmarks on Substack as well if you enjoy my analysis and insider reporting. Check out Between the Hashmarks on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The YouTube channel is at Matt Lombardo 975. Mike, it was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody who hopped in the room. We have 60 people hanging out with us today. Really enjoyed the conversation, and we'll talk to you next week. Mike, have a great one, my man.
You too, and take care, everyone. See y'all next week.